So you want to learn how to grow faster and actually implement even faster. We have this process that we like to talk about, what's called exponential growth. I remember first listening to this or hearing about this. And it is a process for us to be able to not only learn, but also to grow and to implement those things faster. And that's really what we're going to be talking about here today. But when we have all of the things in our life, when we are trying to juggle family, trying to juggle our career, like trying to create a business, side hustle, like all of these kind of things, we have to find a way that can help us tap into this level of exponential growth that doesn't mean us doing more. Here's the thing, as a high performer, and I know a lot of you guys are high performers, we tend to throw more time and more energy at things, thinking that that's the answer for all of it. But let me tell you, it is not the more that you do. As a matter of fact, it is thinking of things differently, which is what we do here on Modern Leadership. We help give you a different perspective that you can help not only to achieve these goals in multiple different areas, but do so without burning yourself out or sacrificing what we believe to be the most important thing, which is family time. And that's what we want to talk about today. We want to talk about the answer is not to work harder. Because if you probably have thought about this, like when you see other people who've had success, there's people who have worked much harder than you, but have less to show. The opposite is true too, where they're actually people who work less than you and make a ton more. And so it's not a direct correlation to the amount of energy that you actually put in there. It's what you put that energy into. And today, we want to share that with you. We want to share the 3 things that we have found that have made not only a significant difference in our lives, but helped us speed up the path of growth with our family, our business, and our health all at the same time. If you're ready to do that, if you're ready to find something different so that you don't have to just keep throwing more and more work at things, but still achieve the goals that you truly want to, and what I do believe is not only best for you and for your family in the world, well, here we go.
It's time to redefine leadership. Welcome to Modern Leadership, where we see things differently. Our channel is all about empowering entrepreneurs like you to achieve the next level of success in business and life. We believe that you can create a massive impact in the world without compromising your personal life or family time to do so.
We're committed to providing you with actionable tips and strategies weekly to make that possible. So if you're ready to become a modern leader and make a lasting difference in the world, consider subscribing. Turn on notifications and dive into our community. We want to thank you for being here because the world needs your leadership now more than ever. Let's go.
All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back. So pumped up about this topic because I know a lot of you guys are into personal growth, right? We all know a lot of us, well, actually, let me just share what my mentor says. My mentor says our outward success is an expression of our inner growth. And if we want to actually achieve what we want in all areas of life, we have to think about how we can grow. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I thought of this as like growing by addition. What I mean is like I was reading books and I was thinking about how much I can do. And I was doing, and what I found is like I could only grow at a certain speed if I had that one-off approach. What we're going to talk about today is not growing by multiplication or by addition. And we're going to talk about growing by multiplication. All right. So you can take the same amount of time, the same amount of energy, and grow even more. Now, guys, super pumped to be here. I know we have a lot of people who are here who, you're part of our community. You're part of our inner circle. You're part of our team here. And I want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. But I also know we have a lot of new people here. So I want to welcome you with open arms. That's what we do here at Modern Leadership, where we help you see things differently. All right. Now, one of the things that we're going to do that I really wanted to like bring to this channel, it's something I've seen my mentor do, and people love this because we also do love to give things away, is we actually are going to do a giveaway at the end of this call. So for one of you guys, we are going to give you $50, whether it's a $50 Amazon card, $50 PayPal card. We'll actually connect with you and figure out the best way for you. But this is what we ask. Now, if you've been a part of this before, you know what we're going to ask. We want you to snap a screenshot of us, of this video, of you watching this our training, and we want you to post it and tag us on social media. Now, if you're on Instagram, Kurt is going to share our handles on Instagram. If you're on Facebook, he'll also show what the Facebook handles are. We want you to tag us in your stories. Now, later at the end, we're actually going to pull up our stories, and we're going to pick one lucky person to share that $50 with, and you can do whatever you want with it. Well, can't do whatever you want with it, but you can do something with it. All right. So we want to really make sure that we honor the people who are here, who made it live, and we really appreciate your time and your energy. So definitely snap a picture. Make sure it's one that I actually am looking at the camera. And for some reason, like this is the picture that I always get. It's all
Are your
right.
eyes closed?
With my eyes closed. My son, by the way, my son sent me a picture the other day, and it was a picture of me in my profile picture, and it was a picture of Mr. Clean. And my son wrote "same person?" ?
That's
I just want to shout it out.
Our kids just
You
they
find
live
out
to make
so
fun
much.
of us
You find
at
out
that age.
so much about your kids, about yourself through your kids, don't you? Some of those things we want to know. Some of those things we don't want to know. Okay, so let's dive right in. All right. So when it comes to growing exponentially, when it comes to achieving goals in these multiple areas, I first want to start by talking about like, why is it so hard to be able to do that? Because a lot of times people just come with all the solutions and they're like, oh, do this step and this step and this step. But we actually have to take a second to slow down to think about why it's so hard so we can overcome that hard and actually tap into a different way of doing that. So I want to throw it to you. So why is it so hard to be able to achieve this exponential growth?
Yeah, there's a lot of different reasons why it's so hard. And I'm going to explain some of them and kind of like how they go in this process. So we have so many things going on right now, and we don't even know where to start. So if you can relate to that, comment in the chat. But we're constantly juggling responsibilities. Mark talked about this at the beginning. So whether it's growing your business, whether it's trying to spend more time with your family, or whether it's working on your health, the sheer volume of things is like on your plate is like something that can cause you analysis paralysis. Have you ever heard that before? Where it's like there is so much overwhelm that you can't even take the next step.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything feels like it's urgent and important. And then it's easy to become overwhelmed. And you struggle to even identify where to even focus your energy first, right? Because you may have the energy to move forward, but you don't really know where exactly you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe you do start, right? You start anyway, even though you're overwhelmed. And it's hard to pick which thing to learn because it's hard to prioritize what to learn first,
Mm-hmm.
right? With so many resources out there, like books and podcasts, online courses, webinars, workshops, it's hard to determine the area of growth that we need to focus on and lean into. So do you focus on your business? Do you focus on your health? Do you focus on your family? Right. So it's hard to really determine that. And these are all important, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not saying one is more important than the other. They're all important, but we just don't know where to like really focus our priorities on. So let's say we do focus our energy on certain things or whatever comes up, like a podcast or other books that people are reading. And then maybe something pops up on social media and you're like, well, maybe I need to focus on that. And it just makes it feel like we're doing something and we're making progress, but we're just consuming what's readily available for us and, or whatever's popular at the moment. So how many of you have picked up a book because people just couldn't shut up about it? They're like, oh my God, like I have to read this book because everybody's talking about it. But then we start to like move and start like taking actual or try to take actual implementation with whatever, resource we want to do. But we start to move and just get halfway through some of those things. So I don't know if any of you can relate that it's just really hard because at some point you just get to something and you can't really like follow through the whole way. And you just get halfway through. And then your attention is just on whatever pops up and you can't really focus on that one thing. So then you start to tap into more intentional learning because that's really where it's at. You want to focus on the things that really do matter to you in this moment in time. But you start to go at a slow pace, right? You start to just like absorb the information, but then you just kind of sit on it.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this is kind of like the reason why it's so hard to even get started. So what we want to do today is actually help you focus on some of the things that really do matter and actually help you implement and take action on those things.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even you just like reading that list of different things can even feel overwhelming just in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we like to talk a lot about is a lot about like our subconscious mind and how it gets you to focus on the things that are broken, wrong, or missing, or the things that will talk you out of taking action, the things that will get you to actually be intentional with your learning, the things that will actually get you to implement. And so all of these things could be happening, maybe one or two of them, or all of them could be happening. And we want to give you the solution to all of them. That's what we're going to be talking about today, because really when you focus on these things, it's just going to keep you more overwhelmed and more in that headspace. But there's another path. There's a path that we found and we want to share with you today that will help you to be able to overcome these things, but also come out on the other end stronger, more resilient, be able to help so many more other people through this. And it's an important part of the journey, right? Actually going through and seeing like, this is like where I'm at right now is important, because now you have an opportunity to like tap into it and to get past it. But then the opportunity that you have afterwards to help so many other people through it too. So no matter if one of these stories like connected with you, one of these things that we tell ourselves that gets us to live small, to not think about things outside of our current comfort zone, or maybe even thinking of things outside of the box, we're going to tap into that today. The only thing that we ask is you actually are willing to be open and see things from a different perspective, because all of these things are not true, but they're just currently what you might believe. But we want to give you an opportunity to believe something else, because when we believe something else, then we can do something else, and we can come from a place of service, a place where we show up, we can learn faster and implement faster, only when we focus on these three things that we're going to be talking about here today. Now, I know we kind of jumped into this, but really quickly. So my name is Mark Hildebrand, and this is my beautiful, amazing wife, Teresa. I am an ex-LAPD sergeant. Teresa worked at the UCLA Medical Center, where she was in the executive area. She doesn't like to talk about that so much, but she was the administrative, not the administrative, the what is it
I
called?
just worked in administration.
No, what is it called?
Sustainability
Director of the hospital at UCLA Medical Center.
I'm a director now.
Yeah, now you're the main director in charge of everything. She was the CEO. Okay.
Oh my God.
No, but we were through this process where we were both working full time. And from what we're going to talk about here today, when we tapped into these three things, we were able to not only continue to rise up the ranks. I know I made it to Sergeant 2 at LAPD, and you were on the verge of becoming a director. I know that, talking to your boss, but also being able to grow a business to multiple six figures, being able to connect more with our family, go on more vacations than ever. And all of these things were possible for us because we actually tapped into the things we're going to be talking about here today. Now, it's also not something that is like a quick switch and everything's going to change. Your life is going to change tomorrow when you tap into this. There's something that needs to build up. It's just like growth. And the faster that you can grow internally, the faster you'll start seeing results outside, right? So when people ask me, Mark, how did you lose 100 pounds? They're asking me for the things on the outside that I did to make that happen. But they never ask me who I had to become in order to lose 100 pounds. Because once I became that person, it was no matter, it was going to happen. 100 pounds was going to come off, whether or not it happened today, tomorrow, or 6 months or a year from then. And when you can step into that, when it's just a different level of energy when you're like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to make this happen because I'm going to be focused on the things I can control, which is inside of me. By doing that, then I can have all the stuff on the outside. That's what we want to be able to help you guys with today. And that's why we are going to tap into these three things that we want you to verify. First off, to make sure, like, do I have this in my life? Do I already have it in place? Because some of you guys might have this. Mm-hmm. You might have one, two. Who knows? You might even have all three. And you might just need to ask yourself, how do I make sure I stay engaged in all three of these, right? But all three of these things are very universal things. And we're going to give you some examples of how we've actually implemented this. We're also going to give you some examples of how we ditched out, how we went into our comfort zone, and how we stopped growing for a while, which plateaued us in our business, me as a father and a husband, me as a leader on LAPD, all of these kind of things, because we want to bring some awareness to these pieces. Okay. So as we go, we're going to pull back this curtain and we want you to write down these three things. We're going to go over them one at a time. And I want you to tap into, am I utilizing this? All right. Now, here's the thing. As you go through any type of training, I want you to think about this in two respects, all right? Number one is, how does this apply to me? Okay. Remember, this is modern leadership. We have to really get good at leading ourselves. But the second thing I want to ask you is, like, how does this apply to the people that you help or the people that you lead? Sometimes those people are called kids. Mm-hmm. All of these things apply when it comes to getting better in business, but also when it comes to getting better as a parent, when it comes to getting better as a spouse, when it comes to getting better as connections in our career, all of these things equally apply, all right? So we're going to start off with focus number one. Now, really thinking about this in terms of like what the primary thing that I always remind myself of is, am I priming my brain before I jump into the situation to be able to implement the things that I'm about to learn? What most people do is they will just jump into a thing and think, oh, just because I'm here, I'm going to get better. And that is not the truth. That is not the truth at all. When we start to see that this is an operating system, and when we prime this to learn as much as we possibly can and to implement it, we will go out there and we will get the best and the most from that training, from that teaching, from the book. And we can do that in a way by really priming the operating system. I like to think about this as like, some people call it open versus closed mindset, but it's a little bit deeper than that. It's like going into a training and going, what is the piece that I need to learn from this training? How does this apply to me? Like early on, when it came to like me learning, I was in an MLM and it was 99.8% women. It would have been super easy for me, which is what I saw a lot of guys do who joined and then quit, for me to go in and go, this doesn't apply to me. They're talking about like mom life. They're talking about mom cracks, finding the mom cracks in your life, right? And I'm like, oh, this doesn't apply to me. How less I would have like learned than if I was just going in there going, well, this also applies to me too. How does it apply to me? And when you start to program your brain, you start to find solutions that you would have never found if you hadn't programmed it, right? So, I mean, this is the same thing as a book. If you are, have you done this where you've read a book and you've learned something from it, and then you put the book down and then you come back and you reread it and you learn something else entirely different? That thing was there the whole time. And maybe you weren't primed to actually really identify and grab the pieces that you knew in there. Like I when it comes to like our trainings and stuff that we do here, a lot of people love our energy and our passion, right? But I'm like, you're missing something if you're not grabbing a piece from this workshop that is based off of where you need to grow, because you've primed it of like, there's a piece in here that I need to grab onto that's going to change my life forever. And now you're searching for that piece. But what happens is when we prime our brain like that, it will open up to find it. It's kind of like this thing of what you focus on grows, right? Have you ever had this thing where you bought a new car or you bought something new and you're like, nobody else has this. And then before you know it, you're looking around, you're like, why does everybody have this same thing, right? And it's because those things were always there. The things were always there in the book. They were always there in the podcast. They were always there in the training. You just weren't open to accepting them and to making sure that you put yourself in that energy. Now, we do that as coaches by asking really powerful questions, by getting in and really finding out what's important and meaningful to you. And we do that a whole bunch of different ways. And by the way, if you're watching here on this channel, we've already done that for you. We literally have done that from the beginning of this training. It's something that we know as life and performance coaches, how to prime the people who are listening to us to be able to capture the things that will change the game for them forever. Have you ever had that where maybe somebody's in the same exact training as you and they're like, oh my God, this thing changed my life forever. And you're like, it was meh, you know? Did they watch a different training? No, they were primed. They knew that thing was in there and they were like going to do whatever they can to get in there and find it.
It's also a different level of growth.
100%.
Because as you're going through the growth process, you're going to catch different things because you're just at a different level.
100%. 100%. And I want to give you a little bit of an example, okay? So we did a training recently within our inner circle is how to get your first client, right? How to get your first client. So it would have been very easy for people to go like, oh, you know, I've already got my first client. I shouldn't be here. Or it could have been very easy for them to go like, none of this stuff applies to me, right? But I got to tell you, from that workshop, after we got done the workshop and I primed everybody to like really hear what we were saying and grab onto a piece of that and use whatever it was to actually implement and change in their life, that when we did that and now we gave this presentation, people have reached out to me and go, that was amazing. And I already have a client. I already have this call scheduled. I already got my first client ever because of what you shared there. And being primed to grab that information was critically important, because if they hadn't been and they had just watched the training, they would have done what a lot of other people did, which is like watch a free training and be like, oh, that's cool. And then just moved on. But when you can prime your brain to make sure that you get the most out of it, you will not have to spend any more time. You will not have to read the book 72 times. You won't get into I've got to do all of these other things. No, you can actually utilize the time that you do have there to actually get deeper insights and to learn and to grow. So this is the first step, is asking yourself, how do I prime myself to find the answers that I need to find in this training, right? And of course, if you're a part of a group like this, we do that for you. But not all groups do that. Actually, I don't know many groups that do, all right? Because they don't understand the psychology behind getting you to open your brain. We call it into the space of your heart and finding your answers rather than finding all the reasons why it's not going to work. You ever done that? Where you're like, oh, that's not going to work because of this. Oh, I'm not like that. I don't have a big enough following. I don't have this. And it's because you didn't prime your brain, and the person who was teaching you didn't understand how to prime your brain to get you into, but how could this apply to you, right? And that's an important part. So before you go into any training, we want to make sure step number one is you prime your brain and you get it ready to actually be open to finding your solutions. Number one. Number two,
focus number two is intentional learning. So this is focusing on what you need in your personal growth. So Mark mentioned this earlier, the quote that has really stuck to us when our mentor told us about it, and it's that your outward success is an expression of your inner growth. So it's the internal work that you're doing. And to find the things that you really need, you need to be really intentional about it. And it's different for everybody. Like we said, everybody's at a different level of growth, and everybody consumes things and learns things differently. So everybody is different because everybody has different strengths. They have different weaknesses. So it's about finding what is truly meant for you in this moment in time. So it wouldn't make sense to listen to, whatever popped up on a podcast or on YouTube or even in a book if all your friends recommended it, because they're at a different level. And you need to find what it is that you need and the way that you need it, because it's not just about like what it is that you need. It's like how do you actually absorb information well. Like for me, the thing that like in the past was something that I really dove into with intentional learning were podcasts, because it was something that, because I was so busy, it was something that I could listen to. And even in the car, that was something that like really changed the game for me, was rather than listening to music or the radio or whatever, it was like, okay, I'm going to use this time that I'm stuck in the car to actually listen to the thing that I need to learn. Right. So we learned that really early on, which was a blessing, right? Because it helped us kind of speed up that process. But there's two parts to this. One is habits and the other one is skills. So habits kind of provide the structure and consistency needed to learn with intention. And skills allow us to kind of approach the learning strategically and effectively. So together they kind of help to move beyond kind of like the passive learning and more towards like more meaningful and kind of sustained growth. So you need to identify what's best for you. And kind of just remember this. It's the things that you need to learn. You need to kind of like filter it through that, what we just talked about. So not what someone else is teaching. It's like you need to get really good at identifying what's good for you. And what should you learn? First is, we'll talk about that and we'll like kind of get into how we can actually help with that pretty soon.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really great perspective is we're all at different places, right? In our life, in our business and things like that, right? We all have different goals. So when we think about where we want to be able to get to, right? And this is something we do with our one-on-one clients in our success pod, is we think about what the goals are that you want to be able to achieve. And we think about where you are right now, because those are two very important points that if you're trying to get from the East Coast to the West Coast, like you're trying to get from Los Angeles to New York, you need to know where you are. And you also need to know where you're going to go, right? And then from there, you can figure out what those roads are, which are what are the habits and what are the skills for you to learn, right? And that's what we have to identify and lean into when it comes to growing, right? What are some of those habits that I'm going to be performing? And what are some of those skills, right? And yes, there's resources to be able to find to do that. But anything outside of those habits and skills in that moment, it's not time to learn it. Your best friend could give you the best book that's about something else entirely different. And you can say, I appreciate that. I'm definitely going to keep it so that when it comes to be that time for me to learn that, I will lean into it. But just because your mentor or just because somebody else says, hey, this is the best book, remember, you're in different places. You have different strengths and different weaknesses. So you have to be very intentional with how you're growing, right? So remember, the first step is to prime yourself so that you can absorb as much of the information and find what you really need. Number two is you have to be intentional with what you're actually growing and learning. Not a smorgasbord is what they call it, is like you just go and you go to like this big buffet and you get to like pick everything. You have to be very intentional with what you learn. Now, the third piece of this is what takes it from addition to multiplication. All right. So step number 3 is to find your growth tribe. Now, the first 2 steps were being open to finding the pieces that you need and being ready to absorb it. The second piece is kind of like, what do I actually need to learn in this process? The third piece is finding a group of people I would consider your tribe who are going on that journey with you. Now, this could be some people that you surround yourself with, but I want you to be really cautious of that because some of them either are at a different level than you or they have different goals and aspirations than you. So being a police officer, it was not like good for me to spend most of my time with other police officers while trying to learn and grow the skills that I needed to grow a business. But being in an environment that helped me because I knew that they wanted to grow in the same like way that I did, but also had the same values as me, would help me speed up this process. Now, there's 3 reasons why finding your tribe is incredibly important, right? Number 1 is what we call exponential growth. Now, we have something inside of the Inner Circle. It's called our book club. Now, when you read a book, like let's say right now we're reading Worthy, right? I'm going to get something different from the book than somebody else is going to get from that book. And another team member is going to get something else from it. And it was always there at the same time. But sometimes we can't prime ourselves to read every single thing and to assimilate all of it into our brain. But what we can do is when we are growing and they're growing and we are learning and they're learning, is we create this thing called exponential growth, where you get to share your takeaways based off of your strengths and where you are, and vice versa. They get to share that too. And it's a way of you reading the book once, but reading the book 4,000 times. All right. And I hear this all the time. Like, I'm going to read 1,000 books this month or this year, right? Wow. I don't know. Who knows? And I'm like, I don't really know if that's the best way for you to like utilize your time and your energy because you're just reading and moving on and not implementing. But when you're a part of a team, when you're able to tap into this exponential growth, it will be like you're reading the book 50 times, 100 times, depending on how many people you're kind of sharing it with. And you're not having to spend all the time doing that. Can you see how doing this would speed up the growth that you have in your life without you having to do it all? And it just depends on the system and the tribe that you plug into. Now, the second reason is for accountability. We all have things that we learn that we don't implement. Like, can you think about that? What would your life look like if you implemented 50% of the things you know? It will look way different, drastically different than it looks today, even for us. So that's why we want to set ourselves up to have the most success to get us to take action. Now, one of the things, and we've been talking about this, is one of the things that we do on all of our live calls, especially our Inner Circle, is we ask you at the end of these calls what your biggest takeaway, and based off of that, what are you going to commit to taking action on this next week before you get on the next call? And it's a way of being able to frame this into like, I'm actually putting this out there. I'm actually like going to take action on this, and it will get you more likely to take those actions because you're in a group of people who, first off, won't shame, guilt, or humiliate you. That's not what we accept inside of our tribe. But when you're a part of that group, it will help you to be able to share those answers and to be able to hold each other accountable so that you actually do it. You just want to make sure that you're being held accountable to the right things. Now, the third piece, and the reason why we want you to find a tribe, is because we want you to be able to lean into other people's strengths. So when you get into a tribe, there's going to be people who are really great at things that maybe you're not so great at. I mean, I always like to use this example. Like Kurt is like, he's going to be kept around in my life for the rest of my life because there's so many skills that I totally suck at that he crushes. And when we come together and I get to allow him, or I get to tap into him to be able to use that as a resource and vice versa, it makes us all even more better. Because can you imagine if I was trying to edit my videos or put these things up on the screen or do any of the audio or doing any of that stuff? Oh my gosh, it would be terrible, right? But it's the power of this when you can tap into other people's strengths, but also tap into your strengths to be able to help out other people as well. This is one thing that we don't realize that we have an opportunity for all the time. And that is like when we're a part of our tribe, sometimes the things that make the most impact for us is when we help someone else in the tribe. Think about what it feels like when you show up on your A game, you show up and you help someone and you help them get results because you're tapping into your strengths. It is an amazing gift that you get to give them, but it's also an amazing gift that you get to give yourself. And that's what you get to do when you find your tribe. You find your tribe so that you can be held accountable. You find your tribe so that you have other people that you can lean into in their strengths. And you find your tribe so you can experience what's called exponential growth. Exponential growth.
Say that 3 times.
I know. And that's really why we believe so much in the inner circle. Now, here's the thing. Like, we actually have a program that does all of these 3 things. And I want to talk to you about something that we're actually doing next week for the actual program for those people who do want to have this kind of community. But would it be okay if we spend a few minutes here talking about how you can actually have these 3 things really in a done for you kind of like way for like the price of like a coffee that you get per month? At least that's what it is right now. I don't know. Starbucks is pretty expensive, right? Mm-hmm. If so, we want to talk to you about this process that we have called the inner circle. Now, we have a lot of people who are here, a part of the inner circle. If you see their names are green. They pop up. Marie, Trisha, Kurt is here. Aaron is here. Mm-hmm. And these are all people who experience this. But I would love to talk to you about this process, because like when I have a solution, when I have something that I wish that I had to speed up the process, I want to talk about it. And I want to scream it from the mountaintops. So when it comes to the inner circle is a community of like-minded, family-driven entrepreneurs who want to excel when it comes to their business by creating a business they love, not one that they feel like they're stuck in, but one that helps them fulfill their purpose, while also connecting deeper with their family and making sure their physical and mental health are on point. And when you do that, when you're actually able to be in an environment like that, it will help you level up where you currently are. Now, how we work this program is we have 2 live calls every month. So it's every other week. We want to make sure that you have enough time to be able to implement, to take action on, and to bring back the things that we actually are teaching you to be able to continue to exponentially grow in all areas of your life. Now, in between those 2 weeks, we still have normal YouTube videos and trainings that are actually open to everyone. But this is more of like energy, of motivation, of getting you to show up in between calls. For our inner circle calls, we take a deep dive to be able to help you be able to excel in these 3 areas when it comes to your business, when it comes to your health, and when it comes to your family connection. That's where we take a deep dive on the inner circle. Now, you also have an ability of getting your personal questions answered. So the inner circle right now is at around 70 people, which means you have 70 people that come on to be able to ask questions, get personalized advice from me and from Teresa on the workshops to help you personalize it for you and for where you are in your business. This isn't a one-step like, hey, we're just going to teach you everything. No, we've got to focus on the things that you need to learn the most. And how we do that is we actually are going to have a call next week, which is going to be on Zoom for our inner circle members. And what we do is we help them by giving them a list of questions to first make sure that they're open to be able to receive what the call has to offer, and then asking you questions to figure out what you specifically need to learn right now. We've been getting a lot of questions about social media, about sales, about like sending messages to people, about scripting, about making time, about that is a big deal, is like time and prioritization and being able to like balance it all. Those are a lot of things that we've been talking about over the last couple months, because that's what you guys said would be the best use for you. And because of that, look at the videos and trainings and stuff that we've done for you in the actions that you've been able to take, right? And being able to like connect with you and find out what you're really wanting and needing to learn is important to us. That's what we're going to be doing next weekend. We call it crowdsourcing wisdom. It's actually going to be on Zoom. It's not going to be on YouTube, but primarily most of our trainings will be on YouTube. We also have, as a part of the inner circle, opportunities to kind of share you with our audience. So you might have seen this, like from time to time. We had Cheryl came on. We have Tina that have come on. We have Aaron that's come on. We have a lot of members from our inner circle who we allow to be on the channel, because our goal is to spread your message with as many humans as possible. We know what you're doing for your business is impactful, and the reasons why you're doing it is because you want to be able to help more people. And so we want to get it out there into the world and let as many people as we can to know what it is that you're doing. And so we give people who are in the inner circle opportunities to come onto our YouTube that's open to everybody so they can share their message. And lastly, we have a private app that we put people into so that you can continue to grow, continue to have conversations, continue to expand not only your knowledge, but also the people that you're networking with. Now, inside the app, we even give you an opportunity if you find that your strength is within somebody else's weakness zone and it's what you do for a business, that you can 100% reach out to them and have a conversation about what it would look like if you guys were to work together. This is not something that we say nobody can work together inside of the group, but it's also something that we don't want people to be weird with. So we also have some rules that are designed so you just don't randomly reach out to people. But this is what happens when you experience exponential growth and you're on a journey with another team that is heading in the same direction as you. Maybe they're a little bit behind you, maybe they're a little bit ahead of you, but you have us to be able to guide you to that path to be able to achieve that level of success. Really, when you think about what we talk about inside of the inner circle, it's three things. Number one is using leadership and coaching to be able to open your mind to the possibilities that are out there. That's step one, right? Number two is we want to help you focus on the things that will move the needle the most for you. And let me tell you, it's not just picking up any random book or any podcast. It is literally us asking you, what are you wanting and needing the most right now? And based off of that is what we create workshops out of. So you can actually workshop it here live on the call, not afterwards, literally while we are here. We're going to be asking you key questions to be able to open your mind to the possibilities. And number two, give you the tactics and the skills and the habits to be able to perform at your highest level. And number three is to have a tribe to be able to provide that level of accountability. Now, some of you guys know this. We actually have one-on-one options in Success Pod where we are your accountability partners. As a part of this program, because it's something that we can do on YouTube and we can really lower the price, you guys are each other's accountability system. So there are a few things that we ask, and I'll share with you like what the investment is, but there are a few things that we ask even before you join, because we don't just want anybody to join the inner circle. We're looking for very specific people to dive in. And when it comes to these three things, they're very important to us because we're not a charity here. Even though it is super like inexpensive, we don't want to just take money and then just have people sit in the back of the room. We want you to commit to doing three things before we even talk to you about what this program would look like. Number one is you have to be willing to implement quickly. Meaning, as a part of this program, we want you to take what it is that we have, the information that we're sharing with you, which is what you're going to be asking us about, and we want you to implement it quickly. I always say this on the podcast is you cannot improve in action, which means when you go out and you take action and you bring it back, we can help you 100%. And in order for you to do that, you have to be willing to implement quickly. Number two is you have to be willing to lean in and ask for help. Meaning, if you're needing some help, if you need, like you're going through something, as long as you're willing to go, hey guys, I'm going through this and I'm looking for some solutions, we want to hear about it. We want you to post it in the app. We want you to ask us during one of these live calls, because you have to be willing to do that no matter what community you're in. You know, I didn't really hit on this in the beginning. Like, this is our community and how we do that. But even if we don't resonate with you, I want you to still find a community, and I want you to do all of these things too, because you're going to be able to set yourself up for success. This is not the only community that you can do that in. We're not the only community that focuses not just on business, but family growth, right? There's a couple of them that are out there. And if you connect better with them, I'm all for it. I just want what's best for you. And I also want to share how we can actually help you if you do connect. So that second piece is like being willing to lean in and ask for help. And number three is being willing to share the wins and lessons that you get along the way. So you're going to hear on a lot of our calls, what went really well? What is something you're proud of today? What are some things that like you are glad that you did because it's producing more of what you want in your life? You're going to hear questions like that because we want you to continue to tap into that heart voice and continue to tap into taking action. But we also want to ask you, what didn't go so well? If you could do that all over again, what would you do differently? And when we tap into that, we help you find the solutions and the answers and the learning that is in that thing. Like being a part of a group like this, being a part of a team, does not mean that you're going to have everything handed to you and it's going to be super easy. You're going to fail. You're going to try things. It's not going to work. And that's okay because you're a human. People connect with you differently. This is the process, right? Can you imagine if I told everybody has to have a YouTube channel? And like people would be like, I'm not the type who likes to be on video, right? I like to write things more. And I'm like, nope, you have to join YouTube. That's a part of the process. You got to find the pieces that work best for you. And how best to do that than to find a team that can help you find that. And that's what we're doing inside of the Inner Circle. Now, for those of you guys that are like, Mark, okay, tell me a little bit about the investment. I'm going to share that with you right now. Now, what I do is say is we are going to be raising the prices very, very soon. All right. And when I say this price, which is $10 a month, a lot of people are like, $10 a month for all of those things. Yes, as of right now, it's $10 a month. And we can do that because we're actually doing it on YouTube. So primarily YouTube is where you're going to be watching those videos. So for a part of this, not only do you get access to those bi-weekly calls, not only do you get access to the community inside of the app to get your questions answered, as well as that accountability that's set up to make sure that when you go through some of the teachings and trainings that we do on the call, that you're actually open to accepting them. You're able to like lean in and find out what it is that you need to specifically learn from that, and then have the accountability of the team to be able to show up and to be able to take action. And yes, right now it's $10 a month. Now that's going to be through this weekend. All right. So how do you join? If you get to this point, and you're like, okay, I want something that's like this. I am committed to implementing quickly, to sharing the lessons, and to not hiding and raising my hand and asking for help when I need it. Then you're exactly who we are looking for the team. We need you to commit to going all in. One of the reasons why we're going to be raising the prices is because I've like really discovered this is the amount that you invest raises up to the amount that you actually invest. Meaning the amount of investment that you make financially will like be connected to the amount that you invest in your time and your energy. And what I found is like when we have a higher investment, people are more invested and they take action and they get better results. But I want you to kind of prove me wrong on this. That's why I only want people who are all in, ready to go all in, ready to meet us where you're at. Know that this is going to be a journey, but we're going to be along the journey for you as well. We also don't want people who are going to try this. We do not want that. All right. If you're just going to try something, please try something else. This is a commitment. We're asking for you to lean in, for you to take action. And yes, you can cancel at any point, but we want you to be in the frame of mind of I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to be on these calls and I'm going to implement and I'm going to bring it back. And that's who we're looking for. So how you can join is if you look below this video, you might be able to do that even right now. If you're watching the replay, there's going to be a join button. This is something that's on our channel. It's called a YouTube channel membership. It's all through the YouTube app in terms of like how you sign up, how you pay, all that stuff. You need to change anything, you need to cancel. It's all through YouTube. Once you actually click on the join button, you're going to see a video from Teresa and I. It's probably a very similar video to this. It'll share with you some of the different details in terms of like what you get. You probably do not need to watch the video unless you want to. But then once you join, you're actually going to in the what do you call that? In the not the comments, but in the description, it will have a link for you to be able to get into our private app. Now we have this mixture of like we have the stuff on YouTube that we share, but we also always share stuff in the app to make sure that people who are plugged into the app have access to everything that we share. We have all of our past trainings. We have all of the things that we've created inside of the app in a beautiful way of you being able to go through and seeing what speaks loudest to you. But we also don't think that you need to go through and watch everything. We just want you to commit to taking action and to joining us every other Saturday for these calls so you can lean in and you can start implementing these things as soon as possible. All right. What did I miss? I've been talking for a long time.
No, I don't think you missed anything, but I do want to share because I want to talk about like my favorite things about the inner circle and just having this space is the community piece. You are surrounded by a lot of amazing people that you can connect with, that you can grow with. But another thing is that you're able to kind of conserve energy because like we talked about, like we are able to kind of guide you and pinpoint the things that are truly going to help you take exponential or, produce exponential growth. And that saves a lot of energy rather than spending our energy trying to figure it all out on our own. This is the best way to really kind of put our energy into the things that really matter.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense, right? Because when you think about like the pain that you have to go through when it comes to growth and the things for you to learn, there's two ways to do that. Number one is go through the pain yourself. Highly recommend you don't do that if you don't have to. Or number two is go through the pain through someone else and learn the lesson without having to go through the pain yourself. And that's a part of what this is, right? And I know we kind of like have talked about like working one-on-one and closer with Teresa and I, because that is like the speed boost. But we also know that not a lot of people are at the time in their business right now where they can afford that, right? And of course, if that's ever something you're interested in, definitely reach out. We have success pods and things like that where we have smaller groups that we can help you with. But if you're someone who's like, I just want to make sure I'm in the right environment. I want to make sure that I am in the right energy, that I know that when I bring questions into the community, that they're going to be answered. They're not going to be shaming or guilting me. And there's no bad questions. It's just going to be the people there who are going to be willing to support me and maybe believe in me a little bit more than maybe I believe in myself right now. That's what we do inside of the inner circle. Now we have a lot of people here. I love you guys so much. I love to hear from everybody who is here from the inner circle, even though you already have written it. Like, what do you like best about the inner circle? Like, what do you love best about it right now? So we got a lot of people. I know Julie says so many resources all in one place at your own speed. Yeah, that's one thing that I want to call out to is whether you want to go slow or fast, it's okay. We're exactly where we'll meet you wherever you are. As long as you're like leaning in and you're getting on the calls and you're reaching out and asking for help, remember you're running your own race. I was on a call this morning. Cynthia was there with me. I was on a call this morning where I was teaching our life and performance coaches, our new ones, how to really tap into this whole subconscious mind thing to open people up to actually not only accepting, but learning the lessons that they need to learn, right? And when you think about all the opportunities that we have when we're in an environment that is contagious like this, to help find those heart voices, to be able to find those strategies, to be able to lean into those habits and those skills, it's a way of us being able to exponentially grow that, right? So I really love that idea, but also remember, it's always at your own pace. You're never behind when you're running your own race. You're not racing against anybody else. You're just racing against yourself. And when you remind yourself that, give yourself the grace and figure out like, where is it that I'm at on this race, right? And then figure out where I want to go. And then from there, you'll be able to figure out what those steps are. At least if you have a team, you have somebody who'll be able to help support you. So 100%. Okay. Now, two things that I want to ask real quick. And that is on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're not in the inner circle, I'd love to hear what is your interest / excitement level about the inner circle. So if you are not in the inner circle right now, I want to hear, and when you comment below, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say is your interest / excitement level about learning about this? Like, of course, we gave you a lot of information here today, but we also can reach out to you, respond to a message that you have, shoot you a Marco Polo or a video or an audio or a message via Facebook. My team is actually going to be holding it down today for anybody who has those additional questions that they have, things that we can answer for them. We're going to be here, so we'd love to hear on a scale of 1 to 10 what your interest / excitement level is. And then any questions that people have about the program that we can answer for you. Definitely type those in the chat as well. I know we have a couple different questions that people typically ask us when they're about ready to join and to invest, and I want to answer some of those for you right now. So I'll let you pick one in a second, but the one that comes up for me is some people do ask, like, hey, is this something that when I'm doing it, I'm committing to like a long-term like contract or anything like that? And the answer is no. At any time, if you decide that this is not for you, if you decide this is not the community for you, we do not want you to stick around in that specific incident. This is not one of those, hey, you have to sign up and be part of this forever. This is one of those things that we want to give you the strategies and the tactics and the mindset and the motivation to be able to go out there and to take action. And if this is not working, absolutely not. You can go in, you can cancel it at any time. Another question that people ask is like, I'm trying to become an entrepreneur, or I'm just getting started as an entrepreneur, or I'm a little bit like more advanced as terms of an entrepreneur. This is one of those things where when we teach very specific items, we help personalize it for somebody who's just getting started and somebody who's in the middle of their journey and maybe somebody who's towards the end of their journey, because everything is going to be slightly different. Remember, these workshops, these are based off of us asking you questions. Yes, we're going to do some teaching for about 15 or 20 minutes, but then we're going to be asking you questions to help you identify how this applies to you. Remember those 3 things. We're going to be focusing on those every single call, right? We're going to talk about the right mindset to prime your brain to be able to absorb what we're going to teach. Number 2 is we're going to help you find the thing that you need to learn in that lesson. Number 3, we're going to help you implement it and take action on it and be a part of a community to be able to ask for feedback and questions along as you go. Now, I know a lot of times most groups like that are much more expensive, but I really want to caution you and just say, like, you might think, oh, it's $10 a month. There's probably not a lot here. Let me tell you, the way that we show up in this kind of like atmosphere is going to blow your mind and get you to think like, oh my gosh, like I love being a part of this, which is probably why we're going to increase the pricing of it, because of the amount of energy that we put into it. We want to make sure that if you are serious about this, that you take us up on this offer now before that happens. Now, one more thing is for people who join throughout this weekend, as long as you join before Monday, we also want to send out a free copy of my book. So one of the things that I did is documented like not only the impact that coaching has made on my life, but how I was able to utilize self-coaching, which is asking myself powerful questions, to get myself to lose 100 pounds, to get myself into like really exceptional shape, also try to become a better father and a better husband and build my business, is I've documented inside my book. And we've had some people who've reached out to me who want me to talk on that. And when it comes to like speeches and things like that, but I wanted to make sure that everybody who is a part of the inner circle who doesn't have a copy of my book has the physical copy of the book, so you can learn some of the things that I learned by doing these 3 things, right? I made sure my brain was open to the possibility and I learned that skill. I found out what that skill was that I needed. For me, it was life and performance coaching. And number 3 is on an environment to make sure that like this is just something that happened automatically. And when you're in an environment where like that, coaching yourself happens automatically, it's so much easier for you to do it yourself rather than being in the environment that we're thrust into at home, right? Very easy to get back into those, pointing outside of yourself. But when you're in this environment, it really does change the game. So any other questions that you guys have? Anything that come up for you?
One of them is like, do I have the time for this?
That's a really great question. So 2 things I want to talk about related to time. Number 1 is when you think about the time commitment, it's about 45 minutes to an hour every other week. If you were to make all of our calls, including the ones in between where we do open calls for all of YouTube, it's going to be basically 1 hour a week. Now, when you think about that 1 hour a week, sometimes it can feel like, oh, it's only 1 hour a week. And sometimes it can feel like, man, it's 1 hour a week. Now, here's what I want you to to think of. I also want you to think of this after this call. I want you to think about what it's like after the call, when you have the energy, when you have the intention, when you have the heart voice, when you have the mindset, when you have all of that motivation that you've built up because of the call, how much more you get done in less time. So this might be the thing, is like, it's 1 hour a week, but what if it gave you 10 hours a week back because you had the energy? You didn't keep thinking about and self-sabotaging and overthinking and confusing things. Instead, you're like, no, this is what I'm going to do. And these are the actions that I'm going to take. And I'm going to come into the group and I'm going to make this post, or I'm going to ask this question. And then that's it. I'm not going to have to search for Google for 13 hours. You realize that when you have something like this, if it's within your strength, like within your zone of actually the group of people that have similar goals to you and also similar values, you'll notice that not only is it contagious, but it also speeds up the process for you when it comes to your growth, because you will get more done in less time. I was also talking about this in our life coach certification. Like when you think about things, when you think about like even the thought of like, I'm just so exhausted and so tired today, or I just don't have the time, how much time it takes from you to now overanalyze that for an hour or 2 to convince yourself that you don't have it, when in reality, if you had spent that time doing something and fueling your brain on what your purpose is and what you're here for, they would exponentially come back, right? Now, here's the thing. It could be in our program, but I also don't want to like say that we're the only people out there, right? I also want you to think about this when it comes to the other programs that you're part of. Maybe you're part of our life coach certification. Maybe you're part of our master coach training program. Maybe you're part of something else in and of itself. I want you to think about the action and energy that you take after you're fueled by that call. Because if you give that up, you give up all of the things that happen afterwards. And a lot of times we don't think about that. We only think of what we have to lose in that moment. But think of what you have to lose if you don't do it. What do you have to lose if you don't do it? Because that was a big open mindset shift for me, because for 2 years, I had let life and performance coaching pass me by. It wasn't the right time, wasn't the right, frame of mind, it wasn't the right investment, because it was $20,000 when I went through it. But like all of these things were like building up. Then I asked myself like, okay, so I would lose this 20,000. In reality, I wouldn't, because I'd be able to make it back. But in reality, when I was like, or I would lose the person that I could become in this process. And I'm like, I'm done losing that person, because I want to find that person, and $20,000, I'll pay that every day of the week if it makes me into the kind of person that shows up for people the way that I want to. And so when I realized I could reframe that, and this is all a decision that you can make. Remember, if your mind is primed and open to it, then you're going to be open to it. But if you're closed, know that, like they say, if you want something different, you have to do something different. For things to get better, you have to get better. And for things to change, you have to change. And that's one of those things I actually read it every single morning to remind myself, I got to be open. I got to be willing to lean in, and I got to be able to meet myself halfway and to take those actions and put myself in an environment that gives me the greatest opportunity for success. Damika is a new member. Welcome. So glad to have you. Guys, I hope this was helpful. If you guys have any follow-up questions whatsoever, please let us know. Now, for everybody who is a part of the inner circle, I want you to plan for this in advance. Next Saturday, same bat time, same bat channel, 9 a.m. Pacific time, which is 11 a.m. Central. If you can make it, we're actually going to be having a Zoom call. We're going to get together with all of the members. I'm going to set you up to have some really great conversations, and we're going to help you figure out these pieces. Number one, what helps you tap into your own personal way of being able to prime your brain to be able to absorb the information. I didn't say this in the beginning, but everybody has a different way that they can prime their brain. We're going to find yours on next week's call. Number two is we're going to identify the things that are going to move the needle the most for you so that we can put your blinders on. Guys, when you put your blinders on and you're like, this is what I'm going to do, you will be amazed at how fast you grow, my friend. And number three is you're going to be a part of the community. You're going to be able to have conversations with people. You're going to get to know some of the people on the team so that you can have that accountability to get you to show up. So I will post that inside of the app as well as inside of the community tab on YouTube so that you can actually register for that event. As long as you are a part of the inner circle, by next week, you'll have that link and you'll be able to join and you'll be able to get on the Zoom call. If you cannot make it, it's okay. It's all going to be recorded, and I'll make sure that I still find a way of getting to help you find your answers. But that's what we're doing next week. We're going to totally crush it. I actually can't wait to actually have those conversations with people and really help you identify your way of plugging into these three things. So guys, thank you for making it here to the end. And let me make sure that I call this out. Whether or not you join us, you have all of the answers already living inside of you. You already have all of the things that you need to be able to achieve success. And I know that you're going to do it. If you can do it, or if you're willing to like lean in and get the speed boost, that's what we're here for, because we want to be able to do that for you. But regardless, we want to let you know that we believe in you and we know that you're going to be able to achieve your goals, whether you join us or not. If you join us, love to be able to help you through that process. But I also know you as a leader being willing to lean in, to get uncomfortable, to do those things, you're going to make it happen. So thank you for doing that. The world needs to hear your message. There's somebody out there on social media, in your personal life, in an event that you're going to be at, who really needs to hear what you have to offer. Don't hold back. Lean in, give it to them, because it's going to change their life and yours forever. So thank you for being willing to do that when most people are willing and only willing to run. I'm so proud of you for doing that. And I look forward to seeing you guys, some of you guys, inside of the inner circle real soon. And keep leading from the front, my friends. All right, everybody. Bye.
Bye.